welcome to my Sunday weekly live stream. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm dedicating this week's show to all my friends in the Santa Cruz Mountains who are affected by that awful wildfire.
Flash, even when he just plays catch, way off down the third base line. Fans have things for him to sign. Spotlight follows him around, same thing in every town. Journalists and TV crews, articles and interviews. Phenom in his senior year, not even old enough to drink a beer. Hit 100 on the radar gun. With a change-up that was 91. Even then he'd pack the stands with as many scouts as there were fans. Every pitch they charted and graphed. He was the first pick of the draft. 30 million guaranteed. Kid ever succeeds. His teammates draw $1,000 a month. Sometimes a phenom picks up the tab for lunch. Oh, you can't blame him, it's not his fault. The team was willing to open the vault. No question that the kid can pitch. Someday he might make all of them rich. On this kid they bet the farm, him and his 24-carat arm. Now every hiccup is a cause for alarm. You better not step on the foul line. You better rub your lucky charms. Drives a luxury car along the road to being a star. There's a guy in every neighborhood bar showing off his elbow scar. We can't miss the analysts. No one's ever seen anything like this. Dying man had one last wish. It was to live to see the phenom pitch. Sometime around the end of May, called him up to Double-A. It was the same night or day, rain or shine, home or away. Every game is a sellout crowd. The kid keeps getting the batters out. The talk show callers all say so. Phenom's ready for the show. Yeah, the talk show callers all say so. Phenom's ready for the show.
I'd like to take a second here to introduce my friend Barbie Angel, who's our digital concierge today. And Barbie will be dropping information into the chat window. So if you don't have your chat window open, you might want to open it up so you can see what she puts in there. And if you're interested in tipping or making a donation today in lieu of any ticket charges, I would really appreciate that. And the links are in the video description, just under the video window that you're watching. If you have it opened up to full screen, you'll have to collapse that in order to see it. But it's just below that video window, and you might have to click on the words "Show More." But it's got all my various URLs there. So thank you. Let's see. This song's for anybody who plays the violin or fiddle. And it's a song about how during World War II, the fact that this fella in the song played the violin actually saved his life. It's called Warsaw in May.
Godless ones were moving east, and we were turned in by a priest, rounded up with all the rest. The cattle cars from there went west. It was my precious violin. When we arrived, it saved my skin. The audition I would pass that day, Wagner I dared not misplay. Violin would save my life, as well my daughter and my wife. They'd summon me to come and play. I'd close my eyes and go halfway. They were so merry and so gay, danced by night and killed by day. They'd give me little scraps of food, sometimes when they were in the mood. I'd draw my bow, and they would sway. They had no orders to obey. The officers, their wives and whores, drinking their cognacs and their liqueurs. They crane their necks, strain their ears. I don't know where they found the tears. Maybe someplace back in Berlin. Sometimes I slept some Mahler in. My violin would play itself while I'd escape to someplace else. My shattered mind would limp away Warsaw in the month of May, conducting in the concert hall. I would not see the things I saw. I'd hear the woodwinds and the strings. I'd tune out all the other things. I'd draw my bow, and they would sway. They had no orders to obey. The officers, their wives and whores, drinking their cognacs and their liqueurs. They crane their necks, strain their ears. I don't know where they found the tears. Maybe someplace back in Berlin. Sometimes I slept some Mahler in. They returned, we'd play play some more. And in between we did our chores. We were in there to entertain people stepping off the trains. We'd stop when they would say go away. I'd draw my bow and they would sway. They had no orders to obey. The officers, their wives and whores, drinking their cognacs, their liqueurs, they crane their necks, strain their ears. I don't know where they found the tears. Maybe someplace back in Berlin. Sometimes I slipped some Mahler in. Sometimes I slip some Mahler in. Sometimes I slip some Mahler in.
So, if you're interested in picking up any of my recordings, my live albums are, my actual CD albums are all available at chuckbrodsky.com. And if you're interested in picking up digital downloads, you can go to bandcamp.com. And that precise URL, like I said before, is just below the video window in the description of this video. And all of my digital downloads are on a pay-what-you-want-to basis. So if you are going through some rough times right now, like myself and lots of other people I know, don't let the fact that you can't afford to purchase music stop you, because I want you to have my music, regardless of whether or not you can afford to pay for it. And if you can't afford to pay for it, just enter 0 as the amount that you can pay. And all I ask is that you pay it forward. Do some good deed for somebody else. Here's a new song. It's called The Things You Think You Know.
You think you know, they aren't really so, but you insist they're true. A lot of people do. It would shock you if you knew. You'd be angry too, but that takes letting go of the things you think you know. The things you think you know, you believe them even though they can be disproved. You're not even moved. It's not like you believe. You can't even conceive of that first domino of the things you think you know. Well, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. You go on and blow till you're good and blue. I'll tell you even though there's no convincing you. That's what you don't know, the things you think you do. Yeah, that's what you don't know, the things you think you do. The things you think you know were like that long ago, but not so much today. You really have to go back a ways until there wasn't any gray. You only had to hope and pray, maintain the status quo of the things you think you know. The things you think you know. Excuse me, but hello, who's telling you these things? Who's pulling their strings? But who knows more than you? None of the experts do. Anyway, there you go, the things you think you know. That's what you don't know, the things you think you do. You go on and blow till you're good and blue. I'll tell you even though there's no but that's what you don't know. The things you think you do, yeah, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. The things you think you know, that warm and cozy glow, it's mostly good for show. It gives you comfort, though. It keeps stoking the fire to get it going higher. You won't let it lie low. The things you think you know. Well, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. You go on and blow till you're good and blue. I tell ya, even though there's no convincing you, but that's what you don't know. The things you think you do, yeah, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. Yeah, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. You go on and blow till you're good and blue. I'll tell ya, even though there's no convincing you, but that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. Yeah, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. That's what you don't know. The things you think you do.
Well, one of the most fascinating people to ever play Major League Baseball was a man by the name of Moe Berg. Now, Moe Berg was basically a third-string catcher, but somehow he managed to parlay that into a 15-year playing career and then a coaching career. But Moe Berg was, without question, the most highly educated man to ever play in the major leagues. He graduated from Princeton and got a law degree from Columbia. He spoke 11 languages fluently, including Russian and Japanese, although they say he could not hit in any of them. He was extremely well read and used to have newspapers delivered to meet the train that the team was traveling on. At the various stops they would make, there would be a newspaper person deliver that paper directly to the train to Moe Berg. Now, Moe Berg, what really makes him fascinating is that he became a spy for the OSS, the forerunner to the CIA. And in the years leading up to World War II, Moe Berg actually went to Japan with an all-star team, probably because he spoke fluent Japanese, not because he was an all-star caliber player. And while he was over there, he took photographs of the Tokyo skyline that proved instrumental in bombing raids of Tokyo during the war. Moe Berg is the only person to ever turn down the Congressional Medal of Honor, and he did that because after the CIA formed, they did not hire him, and he was pissed off. So this is called Moe Berg the Song.
Berg the catcher, good fielding, no hit. Somehow he lasted 19 years till his knees made him quit. Never really played much, but never really cared. He was happy just to hang around with a uniform to wear. Moe Berg, the Princeton graduate, went on to study law. Got his degree from Columbia, all the while playing ball. The Dodgers came a-calling. They were trying to sign a Jew that could help him sell some tickets in the Bronx and Yonkers, too. Moe Berg, the professor of the bullpen, joked with pitchers, reading in the newspapers that he used to have delivered. He'd speak to them in Russian, Japanese, and French. He was the greatest scholar that ever rode the bench. Moe Berg and the Babe, they went over to Japan with a team of touring all-stars giving clinics for the fans. This was back in the 30s as the world prepared for war. Mo took a lot of pictures, but nobody knew what for. Moberg, the secret agent, he never even told his mom of his mission to determine if the Germans had the bomb. He learned to speak good physics without hardly a lisp. He infiltrated lectures with the top German scientists. Moberg, the walking riddle, would put his fingers to his lips. If he recognized him on the street, he'd nod and whisper, shh. Kept a lot of secrets that no one will ever know. He knew lots of people. Nobody ever really knew Mo. Moberg, the beloved, he had the gift of gab. He was a moocher, the celebrity who never paid the tab. He could get in at the ballpark on his lifetime player's pass, and then eat up in the press box. Someone always filled his glass. Moberg, son of an immigrant, brought his father shame. All that education, but then he plays a child's game. Mo made it to the majors, but his dad would never go see him. Mo's baseball card is on display at the CIA Museum. Long after he retired, there was still Moberg the myth, and he rode into the sunset, sadly hanging on to it, appearing on a game show as the mystery guest. Some say disappearing might be what Moberg did best.
I'll do another baseball song. I had a request for this one this week. It's a song about my very favorite baseball player of all time, a man by the name of Dick Allen, known in my childhood as Richie Allen, which is why I stayed true to the times and call him Richie in my song. I'm thrilled about the fact that the Philadelphia Phillies will be retiring Dick Allen's number 15 in early September on the anniversary of his his initial call-up to the major leagues in 1963. Richie Allen was the Rookie of the Year in 1964 in the National League. He was the best player the Phillies had. He was the first African-American star player the Phillies ever had. Unfortunately, though, the fans at that time weren't ready for an African-American who had such stature. During those times, African-American ball players were expected to keep their mouths shut and their heads down. That's not who Dick Allen was. And unfortunately, there was an incident between a very popular white Phillies player by the name of Frank Thomas and Dick Allen. Frank Thomas had been using racial slurs with some of the other African-American players on the team, and Dick Allen took offense, and they had a fist fight, which resulted in Frank Thomas being released from the Phillies. And that caused the fans to turn on Dick Allen, and they would boo him every time he came up to bat. And as a little kid, I just didn't understand this. My dad always taught me to root for the home team, and that's something that I have always done. Well, Dick Allen, when he would get booed at the plate, he wouldn't make any obscene gestures back at the fans. He would just suffer this indignity quietly until the Phillies were back out on the field on defense. Now, he shuffled around a few different positions in his early days, but he settled in at first base. And that's where he started to write words in the dirt in between pitches. And he'd write the word boo right back at the fans in great big letters. He'd write other things too, like one day he wrote Mom. And another time he wrote October 1. because the season ended on the last day of September and the Phillies had promised to trade him at the end of the season. So October 1st represented his ticket out of there. It's just really nice to see him getting his due, finally, after all these years. And fingers crossed and lots of prayers said that when they vote in December, the Veterans Committee for the Baseball Hall of Fame, that Dick Allen will be inducted finally. So this is a song I wrote for my dad.
Well, me and you, we never booed Richie Allen. And I never understood why people did. He had a homer every time he stepped up to the plate. That's what I remember as a kid. Richie in the field out there by first base, the target of some mighty foul words. With his shoes he'd scrawl between the pitches. Boo, great big letters in the dirt. Well, Philly fans, they've been known to get nasty. When Joe must go, they run him out of town. I saw Santa get hit by a snowball, then get hit again when he was down. Well, me and you, we never booed Richie Allen. Even if he did sometimes strike out. I was too young to read the papers, to know what all that booing was about. Well, that big collapse of '64, it was ugly. They blew a lead of 6 in 1/2 games, with 12 to play. Some might say their fans were justifiably angry. World Series tickets printed up in vain, and I have 2 of them. Printed up in vain. Philly fans, they've been known to get nasty. When Joe must go, they run him out of town. I saw Santa get hit by a snowball, then get hit again when he was down.
I was invited by the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, to come out and do a concert a few different times. And the very first time I was ever there, I was tipped off to the fact that Dick Allen happened to be in Cooperstown too at the same time. And if you like irony, you'll appreciate the fact that he now works in public relations for the Philadelphia Phillies. So he was there on some kind of baseball business, and my friend Tim Wiles, the former director of research at the Baseball Hall of Fame, suggested I drive over to the Otesaga Hotel where he'd be staying, see if I could leave a copy of the CD with the song on it at the front desk. So I thought that was a great idea, and that's what I did. Drove over there, and I walked in the lobby door. To my absolute amazement, Dick Allen was in the lobby, in the middle of a conversation with somebody else. So I waited patiently off to the side, and when they finished, I approached him, and I introduced myself to him, and I told him I'd grown up in Philadelphia watching him play, and that to this day, he's still my favorite player. I told him I'd written this song about him, and I pulled my CD out of my coat pocket and handed it to him. Well, he was taken aback by this. He started to look down at the CD and then up at me and down at the CD-ing up at me, kind of sizing me up, which I suppose I'd do too if somebody walked up to me out of the blue and said they'd written a song about me and handed me a CD. In that moment, dawned on me that there was a photo inside the booklet that would be kind of fun to show them. So I asked for the CD back for a second. I took the shrink wrap off and I showed him the photo of the word boo in the dirt that we had composed for this. And I was hoping I'd get a little reaction from him. I was not at all prepared for the tear that I saw roll down his cheek. Well, this was before the days of the $1 million contracts, and before the days of the artificial grass. He stood a bit outside the lines, which made him fair game for those times, 'cause Richie Allen, he never kissed a white man's ass. Well, me and you, we never booed Richie Allen. No, we'd pound our mitts and we'd yell, we want a hit. How could they call a guy a bum after he just hit a home run? It didn't make any sense to a kid. Well, I've since found out all these years later. Now I know a lot more than I did. And if back then you knew, Daddy, why all those other people booed, thanks for letting me have my heroes as a kid. Well, up in Nova Scotia is a folk festival called the Stan Rogers Folk Festival, held in loving memory of the late, great songwriter Stan Rogers. If you're not familiar with him, you should Google him and check out some of his music. He was amazing. So, several years back, I was performing on the stage, and there was a man in the audience who was blowing kisses at me, and it turns out he had a developmental disability. And as soon as I realized that, I started to blow kisses back to him in between songs when my hands were free. Now, this became an ongoing thing for the entire 40 minutes I was on stage, and I knew the whole time I was going to write this song as soon as I got home, which I did. And I sent it to the folks that run the festival, who are friends of mine, because they were sitting in the front row, and I just thought they'd appreciate it. And nothing more than a documentation of what had happened. Well, it turns out they decided to bring me right back the very next year to the festival because they wanted the whole community to hear the song. Canso, Nova Scotia has about 700 to 800 residents these days. Once upon a time, it had about 8 to 10,000. It was a thriving fishing community, but unfortunately, the fish were all fished out of those waters by the big trawlers from Europe and Russia and Japan and wiped out the cod. So a lot of people had to leave and find work elsewhere, out in the oil industry in Alberta primarily, elsewhere around Canada. So the community really dwindled down. And this fella, Arthur Christie, the man who blew kisses, was very beloved within their community. Everybody knew him. Everybody had grown up with Arthur, which I didn't know. I didn't know if he was a resident or if he was among the 10,000 people that come to the festival, many of whom come from far away. But turns out he was from Canso, and so they wanted me to come back the next year and sing the song to everybody up there. But they didn't tell me they had secretly arranged with the home Arthur lived in to have him brought back to the festival. So there I was that next year, and I got around to singing this song. I got a couple verses into it, and all of a sudden the audience was sort of going off in a frenzy, and they were all looking to my left. So I turned my head, and they had brought Arthur out onto the stage to blow kisses at the audience while I sang this song. There's a great YouTube video of this because it was filmed by a television station up there and broadcast Monday morning. And all you have to do is go to YouTube and look for The Man Who Blew Kisses, Chuck Brodsky, The Man Who Blew Kisses, and you'll see it. I have a photograph right here that I want to show you of when Arthur came out on the stage. So I'm going to switch instruments here and do the song on the piano. Turn the camera a little bit. This is for all my friends up in Canso.
The man who blew kisses stood out in the crowd. He wasn't so tall, he wasn't loud. I could not tell you how he was dressed, but of everyone there, I remember him best. The man who blew kisses was simple and free. He never considered how people might see him. He walked on the water, swam through the air, no trepidation, without a care. The man who blew kisses, he lives in a home. He isn't allowed to go out on his own, but wherever they take him, he's happy to go. He loves everybody, and he lets them all know. Oh, the man who blew kisses, he blew them at me. Tickled my heart, and I buckled my knee. Made my voice crack, and it righted all wrongs. I blew kisses back at the end of the songs. The man who blew kisses in front of the stage knew nothing of jealousy and nothing of rage, nothing of prejudice, nothing of shame. He had never been broken, he had never been tamed. Now the man who blew kisses eats tulips for lunch. Probably rainbows, but that's just a hunch. Sunshine and pixie dust mixed in his punch. Daisies for breakfast he picks by the buns. So the man who blew kisses, he misses some things. He was catching my drift, he had air in his wings. Sid was a-rockin', he was clapping his hands. He was stomping his feet and he was doing a dance. So the man who blew kisses, he blew them at you. He blows them at anyone, no matter who. So I thought to myself, in the middle of all this, that the song I was singing, it was but a kiss.
I'm going to stay on the piano for another song here. There's a man by the name of Amnon Weinstein. He lives in Tel Aviv, Israel. And for many years now, Amnon and his father as well have been restoring violins that were destroyed during the Holocaust, violins that belonged to victims who perished in the Holocaust, and some of these had been stowed away in attics or cellars, crawl spaces. Some were just utterly destroyed by the Nazis. And as a labor of love, Amnon has been restoring these for many, many years. And when there were 40 of them that were completed, a concert was held at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. 40 of these restored violins were used to play the music of the band composers. And it was quite an event. And since then, these violins have gone on tour around the world. Maybe you have seen them. I don't know quite how many Amnon is up to today, but it must be over 100. And I wrote the song as a little. I wanted to honor Amnon. So this is called Your Violin's Ready.
Your violin's ready. It's here in the shop. It's got a new bridge and it's got a new top. The neck it was broken, snapped in two, but now it's as good as new. I salvaged the splinters the best that I could. Wherever I couldn't, I patched up the wood. Sounds pretty good, looks okay. It's ready to pick up, it's ready to play. Music was silenced, locked in its case. It had to be hidden and not show its face. Stormtroopers came, they kicked down the door and found it, tore up the floor. Just for amusement, they forced you to play. After you'd finished, they took you away. They stomped it to bits, just left it there. Your violin's ready, I made the repairs. The bones of its body kept in a sack by the neighbor in case you might ever come back. Up in the attic, musty with mold, discovered after the house was sold. Wasn't much more than a bag of debris the day when it was delivered to me. The name inside, was it yours as well? Your violin has a story to tell. Every so often, another appears, like the rest that have found me over the years. Who'd it belong to? Where was it from? Who wore down the back of the neck with her thumb? I take the pieces and I make them whole, healing the body, awaking the soul. I cut and I sand, I bend and I glue, in honor of him, in remembrance of you. Yeah, I cut and I sand, I bend and I glue, in honor of him, in remembrance of you.
Well, I'm going to talk about another folk festival now. I mentioned the Stan Rogers Folk Festival. Now I'm going to talk about the Kervil Folk Festival down in Texas. It's an 18-day long folk festival. It's about songwriters, and it's where songwriters go to share their songs after hours around campfires, after the concerts end on the main stage. I've been going every year since 1992. I've missed twice. And about 25 years ago, I had a girlfriend named Annie. And we had just moved to Asheville, North Carolina. And we drove down there to Texas from here. And we stayed all 18 days. So there came a point where we needed to replenish our supplies and head into town, do some laundry, buy some groceries, mail some things from the post office. And on our way into town, we saw a man selling peaches off the back of his truck by the side of the road. Now, everybody knows about Georgia peaches and everybody knows about South Carolina's peaches. But Fredericksburg, Texas peaches, they are the best, and we had to have some. It was 100 degrees that day, and all we wanted to do was buy these peaches and get back in the air-conditioned vehicle and get on our way. But the man selling these peaches was one of those people that really likes to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And he was going off on all these different tangents. And I started to do what you do when you're fed up. I started taking little baby steps backwards towards the car, hoping he'd read my body language, but no. He maintained the same distance, walking with me backwards, and talking and talking and talking, until suddenly, out of nowhere, the man apologized because he had not thought to introduce himself to us, which is a very southern thing. And I grew up in Philadelphia, and you're lucky if you get the person passing you on the street to grunt. So it was very different, and I could not, for the life of me, imagine why this man was so upset with himself for not introducing himself. Anyway, he told us his name was Bill. And I said, Bill, it's very nice to meet you. I'm Chuck. This is Annie. And he said, Annie? Really? Annie? I had a woman once in my life named Annie. And he started this whole new story. And I'm sure I rolled my eyes, and I'm sure I sighed very deeply, but something changed in the tone of his voice and in the look in his eye that said I ought to maybe pay attention. And I'm glad I did, because he told us this. We stopped for peaches at a little roadside stand. Man said his name was Bill. I said, I'm Chuck and Mrs. Annie. He said Annie was the one and only true love of his life. They met at his wedding, but by then he had a wife. It was during the reception in the spring of '64. She, his newlywed's best friend, followed him out the ballroom door. Maybe his ring got smaller. Maybe his fingers swelled. Maybe he made a big mistake. Maybe time would tell. Bill asked, do you feel what I feel? And he said, I do. And Bill was at a loss, wondering now what should he do. He did what he had to. He'd just taken a wife. She would take good care of him for the rest of her life. Bill and Annie fought the urge. They saw each other often. She was there in black the day Bill's wife lay in her coffin. By then she'd gotten married. By then she'd moved away. She'd asked Bill for his blessings. Said it was okay. Well, Bill said, taste the peaches. And he cut us each a slice.
They were a little on the small side, but they sure tasted nice. Do you think I did the right thing, Bill asked, though I knew he knew. So I answered with a question. Asked him, Bill, do you? He said, Annie, pleased to meet you. Nice to meet you, Chuck. Annie and I drove away in Annie's pickup truck with a box of 20 peaches and a homegrown tomato too, and a couple of things to think about. Every now and then, I do.
Back on the guitar now. I'd like to sing this song for anybody out there that might need to hear it.
Flowers you planted, they bloom every spring. Outside the window, the songbirds sing. The mornings are peaceful, the evenings are too. It's quiet here now, in the absence of you. I never once noticed when you take a drink. You tiptoed to it while I must have blinked. Your eyes glazing over, well, that was my cue to start bracing myself for the absence of you. Demons would frequent and they'd trash the place. Put you back later, your memory erased. You'd wake up the next day, your sky would be blue. I'd be still seeing stars from the absence of you. Sometimes you were them, sometimes they were you. You could never be certain of just who was who. I'd beg God to take me, but he never would do. Night after night, in the absence of you, and day after day, my vow I'd renew, for better or worse, or just what I had to do. Every so often, a ghost will yell boo and remind me again of the absence of you. You could be childlike, you could be sweet, you could be wobbly and way off the beat. Get mean and horrible too. You just never knew in the absence of you. whiskey that broke your heart. And maybe I even played a part. But what you wouldn't tell me, I never knew. It was just my best guess in the absence of you. Day after day, my vow I'd renew. For better or worse, just what I had to do. Every so often, a ghost will yell boo and remind me again of the absence of you.
I think it's time to do another baseball song. But before I do, I would just like to mention my Patreon site. And if you're not familiar with Patreon, it is a way that you can support your favorite artists on a monthly basis. And you pledge a certain amount, and it can be as low as even $1 a month. It's very important to me to get as many patrons as I possibly can. And by supporting me at whatever level you're comfortable with, you'll get access to things that I don't share elsewhere, like songs in progress, lyrics in progress, or recordings and videos of brand new songs before I put them on YouTube or anywhere else. Private chats, Zoom chats with my patrons, whatever I can think of to make it worth your while. That's what I do. But your pledging enables me to have a minimal sense of security to these days. I know every month that a certain amount will be coming in. And in these times right now, that means the world to me. So here's another baseball song about an amazing game that took place in 1925 in Wichita, Kansas. A game between an all-black team called the Monrovians and a team from the Ku Klux Klan. It's called the Monrovians versus the Klan.
No place for a lady on a Sunday afternoon. 1925, on the 21st of June. It was 102 degrees and even hotter in the stands. The day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. No strangleholds, no razors, no horse whips were allowed. They put a couple extra policemen in the crowd. Other violent instruments of argument were banned the day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. Now the Klan was not too popular in Kansas at the time. They already been exposed for their racketeering crimes. And in Wichita, they didn't seem to have a lot of fans. The day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. Only baseball would be on tap at Island Park that day. Ran the headline in the Beacon on the morning they would play. They were trying to set off trouble before the game began. The day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. Now the umps were Irish Catholic, they favored neither side. And out there on the field, the rules were evenly applied. It was a very good game of baseball, said the newspaper man, the day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. Well, it was a seesaw battle, a pitcher's duel through 4. The Monrovians would break it open 10-8 the score, and then drive off in jalopies, not those nice sedans. The day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. The day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, I see it's 4 o'clock, but I still have a few more songs I want to play, so I'm going to keep going. I had a request for this song this week as well. So, fine-tune this. So a lot of you know that I'll be going to Denmark in 2 weeks. So I'm going to do my best to pre-record 2 or 3 of these live stream shows, and hopefully I'll be able to launch them from Denmark. They won't really be live, but they'll be live when I record them anyway. If it's at all possible to be live and do a bona fide live stream from Denmark, I will do that, and I'll let you know. But just in case I can't, I'm going to have a couple of shows pre-recorded.
The house he was born in was only next door. Country had vanished, his people no more. Out in the garden, some little boys played. He had only come back to retrieve Lily's braids. The neighbors were home to the word they were true. It kept them safe, like they said they would do. Despite any orders they might have obeyed, it was righteous of them to have kept Lily's braids. Word had come down, the Germans were near. They had taken a village a few miles from here. There was no place to run, there was no place to hide. It was no longer safe to be going outside. Whispers of horrors, what they did to the Jews, sorting into piles the clothing and shoes. At the railway station, shaving their heads, then taking the hair to make pillows and beds. Lily's hair had never been cut. Curtains were drawn, the doors were shut. It had hung to her knees, just moments before, the braids would be safe with the people next door. Lily's mother quietly prayed. She said, "Come here, child, and don't be afraid. Promise you one day we'll pin them back on after the war, when the soldiers are gone." He was born in was only next door. Lily's brother returned sometime after the war. They were all he had left, and how heavy they weighed. Well, maybe not as much now. Maybe not as much now.
So I just want to mention again, my recordings are available. If you're interested in the actual CDs, you can get them from chuckbrodsky.com. And if you're interested in my digital downloads, you can get them from bandcamp.com. And if you're interested in making a donation today, a tip, I would certainly appreciate it. And if you're watching this on YouTube, all of the links are just below the video window in the description of this video. And if you're watching it on Facebook, Barbie Angel is dropping the various links into the comments so you can find them there. And thanks very much for anything that you care to give today. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do 2 more songs here. Those of you that have listened to me sing before know that I have written a lot of songs up at the Lamb's Retreat for Songwriters in Harbor Springs, Michigan. We get given songwriting assignments, and you have 48 hours to write your song, and every assignment is a unique one. Nobody gets the same one. So a few years back, my assignment was to take Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart and turn it into a song. Now, there is a creepy little sing-along part, and I'll have no idea whether or not you're helping me or not, but I sure hope you do. You'll catch it after I do it the first time around.
Didn't I like his vulture's eye, stalking me like I was prey? I always had to look away. I did not kill him for his gold, 'cause I wouldn't make my blood run cold. It wasn't him that had to die. No, it had to be that vulture's eye. The vulture's eye would never blink. To torment me, sometimes it winked. I felt it follow me around. I faced it once, it stared me down. I'm not mad, how could I be? I planned it all so brilliant mind. That vulture's eye I made go blind.
That was your part.
I staked him out for 7 nights with a sliver from my lantern light. The vulture's eye was always closed, so I waited till it was exposed. I killed the eye, cut off its head, its arms and legs when it was dead. Stuffed it underneath the floor. Now it can't look at me anymore. I'm not mad, it's just the sound of a suffocated heart that pounds. Well, don't you hear it pounding too? And isn't it too loud for you? I'm not mad, how could I be? I planned it all so perfectly. This was the work of a brilliant mind. That vulture's eye I made go blind. I really, truly love the guy. Never had a harsh word, never told a lie. But I could not stand that vulture's eye. The vulture's eye was a beady little lie. It was always dry, it would never cry. I kinda miss that poor old guy. But it had to die, and I told you why. I'm not mad, how could I be? I planned it all so perfectly. Now you ask if I'm the crazy one. Well, didn't I do what you would have done? Yeah, didn't I do what you would have done?
Well, I want to thank you very much for watching today's episode. I've got one more song for you. I want to thank Barbie Angel with 2 L's for her help today. And you should check out Barbie. She's a great poet. She's been voted the best poet in Western North Carolina many years running. She has a website. She has YouTube videos. Highly recommend her. If you're interested in supporting me, there are various ways. You can tip by PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App. You can buy recordings, or you can support me through patreon.com. And I'm grateful for all of it. Thank you. I'm going to switch instruments here one last time. And I hope to see you next week. So here's a song that I wrote just about 40 years ago. 40. Mom, this is for you.
Well, I hope I see you later, 'cause it's time for me to go. That's my ride that just pulled over, and it sure was good to know you. So go answer your calling. Go and fill somebody's cup. If you see an angel falling, won't you stop and help them up? We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going. We show each other signs. Sometimes you'll stumble. Sometimes you'll just lie down. Sometimes you will get lonely with all these people around. You might shiver when the wind blows, and you might get blown away. You might lose a little color. You might lose a little faith. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going. We show each other signs. So thank you for the water. Thought I was gonna die out here in the desert, but you quenched my thirst. Let's break a little bread together. Got a little manna. It was a gift from someone who was passing by and offered me a lift. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going. We show each other signs.
I don't want to end it. Thank you. Stay safe. Be well. Hope to see you next week. Goodbye.